Hey friend, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. Listen, if this is your first time here, welcome. I give lighthearted reviews and recaps of some of my favorite TV shows and movies. So if this is something that interests you, go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you like what you see, hit that like button for your girl. And of course, leave me a comment. I have a lot more content coming to my channel, and I'm glad you're here. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, y'all. So today we are here to talk about one of my favorite shows. It's called You. It's on Netflix. This is season 5, and I am so happy that this show is back. It seems like it's been gone for a while now, but it is back. I know with the writer's strike, it did impact a lot of shows that we love. But y'all, we don't have to wait any longer because we got Joe Goldberg and all of his shenanigans. Honey, he is back in the city of where it all started back in New York. And I gotta say, I'm a little nervous for Mr. Joe being back in New York because if you know, like I know, and remember, like I remember, Joe did a lot of work here in New York. And so there might be some people that may be looking for him. So let's just go ahead and get into this episode. Like I said, this is episode 1 of their final season called The Luckiest Guy in New York. Let's get into it, meet the characters, and see where this season takes us. Okay, so it looks like we're picking up 3 years later. It looks like Joe and his wife Kate. Kate is his new wife that they got married at the end of season 4, and then they left Europe and came over to New York, and that's where they currently are. If you guys remember, he also had a son with his ex-wife. She died. Her name was Love. They had a son, Henry. So Joe tells us at the beginning that they were able to get Henry back, and they are just a happy power couple, right? Kate's famous. They're doing red carpets. They've got Vanity Fair articles. They're coining him as Prince Charming in magazines, and he's just out doing his thing, just out living loud and proud. His face is all over the place. And I'm just a little worried for Joe because, like I said, he's done a lot of work, back in the day. So hopefully, nobody sees him and this stuff doesn't all come back. But we know how karma is, right? Karma, it gets you when you least expect it. So anyway, let's get into Kate and her family. So we have Kate, and it looks like when Kate's dad stepped down or passed away, I'm not sure how that happened, but Kate's daddy left her in charge of the company, right? So Kate has her half sister. Her name is Reagan. Now, Reagan started out from the bottom, right? She wanted to just prove that she wasn't a Nepo baby, that she could do it on her own. So she started out from the mailroom and worked her way up. She thought she was going to be a shoe in to be the CEO of this company. The company is called, I guess, the Lockwood Foundation, TR Lockwood Foundation. But anyway, not Kate, Reagan worked her way up, and she thought that she was going to be, in charge. Of course, Daddy didn't see it that way, so he made Kate the CEO. So Reagan, like I said, she's not really feeling that. She's the half sister. She is the CFO, and we're introduced to her. We also are introduced to her twin. This is Reagan's twin, and her name is Madison. They call her Maddie. And it seems like Maddie is a little bit of a party girl. She seems to flirt with Joe. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know. She seems like she's always like either drunk or on something. I don't know. But like I said, party girl, she's in charge of PR. She's looking for her next husband, honey. She's already been married twice, and she's widowed. So we get to meet her. We get to meet their Uncle Bob. His name is Bob Kane. And he's just like one of those old Texas down south, good old boys. He is the COO. And he's sort of like Kate's surrogate dad, the way Joe explains it. But he is Kate's uncle. And last but not least, we have Kate's brother in law, and his name is Teddy. Teddy is of mixed race, and the story on the street is that Kate's daddy was messing around with the quote unquote help and got the lady pregnant, and Teddy was a product. Teddy is the love child, honey, and the family is not here for it. The sisters do not like him, don't want him around. But Kate does, and Kate actually gave him a voice and made him the chief of staff of the company. the family's not all too thrilled, especially Reagan. You can tell there's no love lost between them. But, the family really didn't want anything to do with Teddy because he's a reminder that daddy wasn't always on the up and up, right? So Teddy don't get no respect. He's gay. He's half black. He's just, got all the presumed strikes against him. But anyway, he is an ally to Kate and Joe that we see so far. And so it'll be interesting to see how these characters all play well together. Okay, so one thing that I've noticed so far in the show is how Joe is talking. Usually, we know when we hear him talking and he does his voiceovers, he's talking about you in the sense of talking to his next victim, right? Usually, it's some girl that he's just met and fell in love with and can't live without and goes all crazy over. But this time, he's saying you and he's talking to himself. So instead of saying, "You are so beautiful, you are the love of my life, you will see that we belong together," it's more so of you are going to do the right thing. You are not going to kill anybody. You have got too much to lose. So he's like trying to convince himself in the moment to always do the right thing. And I think that's what him and Kate are trying to do this time. So, you know, they go to this red carpet event, they're taking pictures, and like I said, they're a famous power couple. Kate looks over and she sees this councilman and she's like, "Oh man, that guy, that's the guy over there that's trying to extort me." So Joe is like, "Hey, you need me to kind of, she's like, "Oh no, 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 no. We don't need you to do any of that. Just walk by him, act like he doesn't even exist, right?" But we all know Joe. We know how he gets down, right? So the next thing you know, we see the poor councilman in the bathroom and Joe is there. So I'm like, "Joe, come on, man. Like, we've only been watching for 10 minutes. You already in the bathroom with the councilman, getting ready to do what you do." But he surprises us. He doesn't do anything. He walks up to the councilman and says, "Hey, man, I think you got a little something." And he pulls something off of his jacket. And then the councilman smiles and he goes on about his way. Joe lets him live to see another day. And I'm like, whew, that one was close. Anyway, we get to the event and we see Kate. She's up at the podium and she's giving a speech. She's talking about how she's got this new literary initiative that's going to help these orphan kids with their reading and also provide scholarships for college and all this, that, and the third, and that a quarter of the company's profits is going to be used to fund this initiative. So, of course, the board is like, "Wait, what now? Say what? Huh? We're doing what?" Because they are completely blindsided. They don't know any of this. They haven't heard of this before. And they are not happy campers, right? So, after her speech, we got Reagan, who is the sister. She comes up and she goes up to her and she's just like, "If you don't think I'm going to roll all this back, you're mistaken," right? So you can clearly tell that she's pissed off about this announcement. Nobody knew about it. We got Uncle Bob that also comes up and he's like, "Hey, you know, you're the boss, but I mean, I think maybe we should go over here and try to beg for a little bit of forgiveness." And so Kate is like, "Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Uncle Bob. I know you and I discussed it and I went over your head anyway." And I'm just like, So her and Uncle Bob already discussed it. So he knew what she was going to do, but he's just like, "Hey, you're the boss, but let's see if we can get the loyalty back, from some of the board members." So we'll see how this turns out and we'll see what happens with Kate and her decision to blindside the board with this information because, honey, they are not happy about it at all. Okay, so Uncle Bob takes Kate away so that she can, just kind of make the board a little bit more happy, beg for forgiveness or whatever it is that she needs to do. And Teddy walks up. And I think before I had mentioned that Teddy was the brother in law of Kate. That wasn't true. Teddy is actually the brother in law of Joe. It's Joe's brother in law. It's Kate's half brother, right? This is the half black gay love child of Kate's daddy. So anyway, he comes up and he's letting Joe know that there's a reporter that plans to run a hit piece on Kate about some story about some pipeline that she helped get approved. And we know that this was the result of these kids getting cancer. So everybody knows that if they plan on running this, Kate's life's ruined, Joe's life's ruined, Henry's life's ruined, and Teddy can forget it because we know the other siblings are not here for Teddy anyway, so Joe's like, okay, I know you got the information about this, but can we not tell Kate tonight? Can we just let her enjoy this evening? And he's like, yeah, for sure. Let's do that because I want to investigate it a little bit more anyway, just to see if it's legitimate or not. So they go and they do that. So the next day we see Joe and he's jogging, and honey, he jogs up to Mooney's bookstore. And we remember Mooney's bookstore from season one. This is where it all began. Joe used to work at Mooney's. This is the old bookstore where he used to put in work, honey. He used to do a whole lot of stuff went down at the Mooney's bookstore. But anyway, it turns out when they got to New York, Kate ended up buying it for him. And Joe never did anything to it, right? The books are still there. They're dusty. Nothing's been done. And so Joe jogs up. He unlocks the door. He's walking around and, he's letting us know that he's planning on putting it back up for sale just to kind of let that part of his life go, right? Let that part of his past go. He thinks he sees a ghost or hears something. So he does a little bit of investigating, walks around the bookstore. He doesn't see anything, but he's like, yeah, it's time for me to let this part of my life go. In the meantime, he sees a text that he gets from Teddy, and Teddy just kind of confirms that, yeah, it is true, and that he'll meet him back at the house. So Joe goes back to the house. We see Teddy. He's there for breakfast. He's meeting up with Kate, and he tells Kate that a meeting that she had for lunch was canceled by Reagan. And she's just like, oh, God. Okay, well, do what you got to do to kind of, put that back on for me or whatever. Kate walks out the room because I think they're getting ready to go. And that's when Teddy is like, yeah, this is happening. Um, we do know that the reporters are planning to run this piece. And so Teddy is like, hey, man, I need you to tell me what's going on here because if I don't know, I can't do anything. Well, Joe doesn't really want to tell him everything. So she just, he just pretty much says that, Kate's daddy needed this deal to go through and somebody's hands needed to get a little dirty. So Teddy is like, okay. So that's why she just picked up and left and ran off to Europe. And so Joe's telling Teddy, like, listen, nobody knew about this, so it had to be an inside job. So first person they're gonna go to is Reagan, because we all know that Reagan don't see it for Kate because she wants to be in charge and she's not. So let's go see what Reagan's talking about. Okay, so Teddy and Joe, they get to the office to meet up with Reagan and ask her some questions about whether or not she was the one that leaked the story, right? So we get in there and Reagan is at work. She's not here for it. She's not happy to see neither one of them. And the conversation doesn't go well. Teddy starts asking her, hey, are you the one that leaked the story? She's like, story to what? Report? I talked to lots of reporters, right? But I haven't said anything about Kate. I don't know what y'all are talking about. You're over here accusing me of something. This guy talking about Joe is over here like he can't even open his mouth, like he's a mute. Like, what is going on with the both of y'all? Y'all need to get the what out of my office. So, Joe's got that look in his eye. And Teddy picks up on it like, hey, you all right? You got a look in your eye, like you're about to, But actually, what Joe was doing was kind of reading her body language, and he's like, it's not Reagan. I could just tell that she didn't know what was going on. So he's like, I think I'm gonna go and talk to Kate. I mean, not Kate, Maddie. I'm sorry. I'm trying to learn these names, y'all. He thinks that he wants to go talk to Maddie. So he meets up with Maddie at the bar, and some kind of way he knows her password. It's just because it's Joe, and Joe is creepy. And they're sitting there, and Maddie's just like, every time I see you and every time I look at you, you just got this look like, you're really not being yourself. Like you really just want to be, you want to live your life and be yourself. And I think this whole power couple thing, I don't think this is you. And I'm just like, wow, drunk Maddie, she picked up on Joe. She can see right through him, right? Because we all know that this isn't Joe. And I'm wondering if this is going to come back, this whole Maddie, peeping Joe out thing is going to come back to bite Joe or Maddie. I don't know, but there was a reason why it was said. Anyway, Maddie's like, listen, I'm going to go get us a couple more drinks. That's Joe's opportunity to get into her phone. And when he does, he sees that there's been conversations had where they're trying to vote my girl Kate out, right? So we got Maddie, we got Reagan, and we got Uncle Bob, and all of them are on the group text chat, and they're talking about how they're going to have this meeting and vote her out. Also, we see that Uncle Bob set up a meeting with one of his friends with Kate so that she would actually miss the meeting where they're going to vote out. So Joe has to go back and he's going to tell Kate about what's going on. So he goes back, he lets her know. He's like, hey, look, it was Bob. He was the one that leaked it. Kate is like, what? This can't be true. Not Uncle Bob. And so Joe was like, I saw the text messages from Maddie's phone. She's like, Maddie's phone? What is going on here? I don't believe any of this. She's like, listen, it is true. It's Uncle Bob. He leaked it. They're trying to vote you out. I saw it on Maddie's phone. What are you going to do? You need me to get into it? She's like, I'll handle it. So let's just see exactly how Kate handles it. Or is Joe going to handle it for Kate? Child, I'm nervous. Let's see what happens. Okay, so the next thing we see is nighttime. We see Uncle Bob. He's coming out of a building. He's on his phone. And so he's about to get in his car. And who do we see? We see Joe, right? So Joe's got a needle. He pokes him in the side of his neck with a needle. And it just seems like as soon as he does that back at the house, we see Kate just kind of wake up from her sleep, right? So she's looking, she gets her iPad out and she's looking at a tracker because she's got a tracker on Joe's location and she sees that Joe's at Mooney's bookstore. So back at the bookstore, Joe has got Uncle Bob tied up and Joe's getting ready to, handle business with Uncle Joe. So Kate takes a taxi to the bookstore and we got Bob in there pleading for his life. He's like, you don't know the whole picture. I can stop the piece from running. And Joe's like, this is for my wife. So he's about to do him up. And just then, Kate opens the door and sees that Joe is actually writing a book. So he's not doing any of this that we're seeing. He's actually writing about doing all of this that we're seeing, right? So Kate's asking him like why he feels like he needs to sneak off in the middle of the night to write a murder fantasy. And so he's like, man, I'm just writing. It's not a big deal. But Kate's like, well, it is a big deal because I'm seeing in your writing how much you enjoy it. And he's like, yeah, I do enjoy it when it's needed. It makes me feel great when I'm doing people in for the right reason, right? And so Kate is like, what? You can tell on her face that she's just like completely confused at all of this. And he's like, hey, listen, Kate, it's still me. I still love you, okay? It's me. Like, let's not get crazy. And so Kate's kind of disturbed by it. You can see it on her face. And she's like, I'm going home. Right. So it looks like instead of killing people, what Joe's resorted to is writing about killing people. And maybe this is his way of not actually going through with the act, right? And in his mind, he's just like, hey, Kate should appreciate the fact that I'm doing this because it could be a whole lot worse. And I'm like, yeah, it could be. We know how Joe gets down. So anyway, Joe goes to Mooney's with his writings. I guess he's gonna put, whatever he wrote back up or whatever. And once he's there, it's in the middle of the night, so he didn't turn on any lights, and he does hear a noise, and he looks like he sees something in his peripheral. So he's looking around, he checks it out. He's gonna grab a statue just for some protection. And the next thing you know, he's startled by none other than our girl Janine from The Handmaid's Tale. Madeline Brewer, that's right. She's on You. I knew she was going to be on this season. I was so excited to see what she does. I absolutely love her as an actor. Anyway, she tells Joe that she got in through the back window and that she sees the books and she borrowed one. She absolutely loves it and can't stand the fact that, this bookstore is probably going to be turned into some other real estate place, some high rise or something, that the powers that be is probably going to turn the bookstore into. So she promises Joe that she'll never do it again, And Joe's just kind of looking, got that look in his eye. And I'm like, oh Lord, girl, you probably about to be the new you, but I don't know because he is married to Kate. So let's just see how this plays out. But anyway, she does end up recognizing Joe. She's like, hey, you're Joe Goldberg, right? And he's like, yeah, that's me. Anyway, she promises not to break in again. And she asks him if she could take a book. And he's like, yeah, go ahead. You can take the book. Just go ahead and leave. And so that's that on that. But honey, I don't know what's going on. He does have that look on his face. And we do know that it doesn't matter if you're married or not when it comes to Joe Goldberg. If he sees you and you become you, you better run for the hills. So the next thing we see is Kate. Now Kate done went down to Uncle Bob's office to try to talk to him to see what's going on. And he pretty much admits to her that yeah, he was the one that leaked the story to the reporter. She's like, "Why'd you do that?" And he was like, "Because, you used to value my opinion. You used to come to me for advice, and now you've just, you're blindsiding the board, and you're grown soft. You went off to Europe, you came back, you got a simp of a husband and a son, right? You put your sister in charge, and you know that she hates you. Like, you're just not the person that I thought you was." And he says, "If you come after me, I'm gonna let everybody know about what went on in London." She's like, "What?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I know about you and Rees and what happened, the politician that got killed in London. So if you come after me, I'm bringing that out too, right?" So she goes home. She's sitting on the edge of the bed. Joe's like, "Babe, what's going on?" She's like, "Listen, Uncle Bob knows everything. Uncle Bob knows about Reese. He knows, and if I come after him, he's gonna put it all out." And so Joe was like, "Oh my God!" So, Kate's pretty much like, "Listen, it's either Uncle Bob, or it's us." So Joe was like, "All right, what we need to do?" She's like, "Listen, I know I told you to just kind of stay calm and everything, but," and he's like, "Say no more. I got it, girl. I got it." So anyway, he goes to Bob's place. He sees the cameras there. The camera's not plugged in. The security system is just unarmed. I'm just like, this is just too easy. I mean, is the door unlocked too? Because it seems like it was, because Joe was just able to go right in there. He chains him to the chair. He puts on the record player, puts on a song, to kind of break some of the sound up. Anyway, in the middle of all that, Uncle Bob wakes up and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here? What's going on?" So Joe got to do him in, honey. He takes one of the ropes off the wall, strangles him up. Then he sends some kind of email that talks about how he made up a story. He regretted the whole thing. And so that's the reason why he had to unalive himself, right? So after he does that, he's got to clean himself up. So he goes back to the bookstore, and I guess over top of the bookstore, there's like a apartment, maybe with a shower or whatever. So he cleans himself up, gets rid of the clothes. And as he's leaving the bookstore, he notices that there's a light on. And he's like, "Man, I know I didn't leave that light on." So he goes in to investigate, and he finds Janine. I'm just going to call her Janine for now until we find out her name. We find Janine, and she's been sleeping at the bookstore, right? So she apologizes. She returns the book back that Joe had given her before. And so he asks her about the book, like, "Hey, did you like the book?" And she's like, "Yeah, I like the book. My friend was saying something about the book." And as she's explaining and talking, he's got this look in his eye. And it was just at that moment he decided, "I can't give up the bookstore. I mean, this is what it's all about. I got to keep the bookstore, and that's what I'm going to do." So he asked her what her name is, and she's like, "My name is Bronte." And he's like, "That's not your name." And she's like, "Yeah, I know, but," and he's like, "Well, do you want to work here?" She's like, "Are you serious? Like, nothing like this has ever happened to me. I really get to work here?" He's like, "Yeah." So gives her a job. He decides that he's going to keep the bookstore open, right? So he gets home, and he assumes that Kate knows about the suicide. So he just looks at her and he's like, "We're okay." And she goes, "I know, and I love you." And to me, I think this is just a validation that Joe needed to, like, hey, she sees me. She knows what I've done in the past. She's okay with it, and she still loves me. So now, hey, it's on. I can go out here and do what I need to do. So I don't know. I feel like her just saying all that and not kind of holding him accountable for his acts was just an appetite for destruction. It was just, the beginning of the end, honey, with poor Joe. But let's see what happens. All right. And lastly, y'all, we see Joe. He's back at the bookstore, and he's there with Bronte. He's giving Bronte the keys to the store because he did decide to keep it open, and he did hire her on, right? So she's all excited. She can't believe it. Wow, stuff like this never happens to me. Is this real? And he's like, "Yeah, it's real. Like, I'll see you tomorrow." So she leaves out. He does give her a book before she leaves, some kind of book that's gonna, I guess, counter the argument that she's been having with her friend about the other book that he had given her earlier. So after Bronte leaves, we see Joe. He's still at the bookstore. We see him talking about how he decides that he can be both the old Joe and the new Joe, because at the end of the day, it's just him. Joe is Joe, right? So as we see him talking all this and convincing himself of this, He leads us down the stairs to the basement. And what do we see? Honey, we see that glass cage, and it looks like it's been cleaned out. Look like there's a brand new rug down there. And honey, it is just ready. I don't know who's going to be the first person that's going to be put in the cage, but hopefully it's not Bronte slash Janine, but we'll see. Anyway, I thought this was a great episode. You guys let me know what you thought of the episode. Do you guys think that Joe is going to change for the better? Do you think he's going to be still up to his same tricks? Do you think him killing Uncle Bob is going to come back to bite him? And do you think he's going to be noticed in New York now that he's back? I mean, he's not making it a secret or anything that he's back. He's out loud and proud. So we'll see. But anyway, I thank you guys for listening to it. I'll be back for episode 2 very, very soon. In the meantime, again, y'all have a good one, and we'll see you again then. Bye.